What's up guys, Brian Sick Fence today, back with another video, outside again. Like yesterday I did a video about vascularity, the truth about it, and how to get more vascularity, how to get vascularity to show more. So, we're talking about that good stuff. If you want to know about that, if you want to know about anything that I cover on here, you just go on my channel, Brian Sick Fence, you just subscribe, like, and you get notified. You get notified every time I make a video. So when I make a new video, you're on that shit. Yeah, you get the new videos I get. So we're gonna be talking about supplementation. So there's definitely many benefits, many advantages to supplementations, like creatine, arginine, citrulline, millet. There's also creatine, whey protein. There's also soy protein powder, as we know about it. But let's get down. So I want to explain more of this first. Let's get down to the metabolism's functions and processes. The functions and processes of the metabolism. So you want to make sure that you have good nourishment, you have good nutrition, you're getting the macronutrients, micronutrients, macromineral vitamins that you need. You're getting a balance of all that. You don't want imbalance because then your nourishment is not nearly as good as it could be, and you guys know it. So, anyways, I gotta talk about the science of the body like I do every time I make a video. So make sure that the nutrients, foods high nutritional value, bargain foods, that they get down into the gastrointestinal tract. When they get down to the gastrointestinal tract, something kind of like that happens is that foods dense and rich in protein, foods dense and rich in carbohydrates, also foods high in fats, lipids, polyunsaturated fats, and saturated fats. It's so dense, so it creates a blockage, and that means the micronutrients, macrominerals, and vitamins, the bargain foods, it means that they can't be fully digested, so they're really just half digested. They don't get digested fully. These are things like constipation, bloating, inflammation. So now let's get into that. The functions and processes of the metabolism is something really major, and something we have to pay attention to. The science of the body. It's really major. So I tell you, I mean, every video I probably explain this, I preach it. So I'm gonna do the same like I do in every one of my videos. So you gotta make sure that it's getting fully digested, not half digested, because then you need to rely on sulfur fiber, and probiotics to get the dense foods out, so it can be correctly digested, fully digested. You can get down to catabolism things. Maybe people don't know that catabolism is where the food is broken down. The food is processed, synthesized, whatever you like to call it. It's broken down to release energy. It's something major to release energy. Is that the food needs to release energy before catabolism needs to release energy before anabolism can require that energy. It's something major that I stress in all my videos, so I'm going to stress in this video. This video is probably going to be like 20 minutes or something. I don't know. I don't have an exact time that I want to label on this video, so we'll just go from there. So it's major that the food is broken down and energy is released. So your basal metabolic rate can require energy. When it requires energy, it makes the offspring of the metabolism metabolites. And the thing about this is that when the functions and processes of metabolism, when it doesn't go too well, and usually catabolism, anabolism, biosynthesis doesn't happen, when all these functions and processes does not happen, usually little to no metabolites are made. And when we have a high amount of metabolites be made, we usually have a high metabolism that can basically burn off bargain foods, utilize it as energy, can burn off carbohydrates, and can burn off calories. But the thing about that is you're not going to be gaining in fat. You're just going to keep growing and keep developing that body. But an overweight person, an obese person, they have little close to no blood circulation because of the fat. It suffocates the muscle, as I like to call it. And when the heart cannot do its job and regulate the blood vessels, when the blockage of fat is created on top of the muscle, so the muscle deteriorates by cells and muscle tissue deteriorates, fat clogs upon that, and prevents the blood vessels from delivering from the heart to delivering and supplying oxygen to the body cells and muscle tissue, so they don't deteriorate and they have what they need from the heart, because it all works here. Your whole body works here, and as you say, get down to a caloric deficit. Get down where you have less calories, whether it's intermittent fasting, adjusting, or changing usually waiting for a longer time, having less calories, get into a caloric deficit. You know, burn fat. When you burn that fat, the thing you can focus on, you can focus on resetting your body, resetting your metabolism so that catabolism and anabolism can happen, so that the food's being broken down, the food's being processed, so the energy is being released. It's major for anabolism because the anabolism requires the energy for your metabolism, your basal metabolic rate, as we know, BMR. I covered in all my videos. I covered in my BMR video. Go on BMR, the truth, basal metabolic rate, the truth. Go on that video right now if you want to. But this video is probably it's gonna be really long. But it's major that catabolism happen and anabolism happens because when the metabolism it doesn't go well, the functions of the process. That means little to no metabolites are being made, and we want the nutrients to be processed and to have good digestion so that energy can be released. Your basal metabolic rate can require the energy to make metabolites, and how many metabolites are being made, so it has more energy and you have more nourishment, you have more nutrition, more bulk foods high nutritional value, means more metabolites are being made, and you're probably going to have a high basal metabolic rate that can burn off the calories, that can burn off the bulk foods and utilize it as energy, so you don't gain fat, so you don't gain an overall body composition. So it's really good having a high basal metabolic rate because it's more efficient, stronger, and it's faster than a person that has low metabolism, that is carbohydrate sensitive, that I like to call carbohydrate sensitive and empty calorie sensitive. When they think they can carbohydrate load, increase their carbohydrate intake while decreasing exercise before competition. The thing that happens is that your metabolism is not going to be replying good to this because it cannot burn empty calories off of the carbohydrates off, so it makes you gain a fat, visceral fat, body fat, overall body composition. And it's something really bad, as I covered in the vascularity video. You want to focus on nourishment. You want to focus on getting the fat go. You want to focus on shedding the fat and burning the fat off, so your blood vessels, so you can have good blood circulation, not occlusion, when the blood vessels are blocked from delivering and supplying oxygen to the body cells and muscle tissue, and not in the delayed onset muscle soreness speaking way. But it's major to get the energy that you need and for the energy to be released. And after the energy is released, that means that anabolic breakdowns means your basal metabolic rate requires the energy to make metabolites. When it has more metabolites being made, you usually have a high basal metabolic rate that's more efficient and stronger and even faster, and that keeps going. You want to get down to a caloric deficit when you have less calories, and whether it's intermittent fasting, it's just cutting back on calories to get down to a caloric deficit. You basically, the same thing is happening. You're getting into a caloric deficit, and when you get into this, you burn the fat, you shed the fat off, so you can reset your metabolism so that anabolism, catabolism can happen, that all these functions and processes of the metabolism can happen. So you're making sure that metabolites can be made, and that more metabolites are being made to where no metabolites are being made and a high amount of metabolites are being made. It's something major, is that when the functions and processes of the metabolism, the basal metabolic rate, when they go well and they are served, that means metabolites are created, and the thing that you want is energy and nourishment. You want the bulk foods high nutritional value to get broken down. Energy is released. When the energy is released, it gets down to anabolism. Your basal metabolic rate requires the amount of energy to make the offspring of the metabolism. As we know, the metabolites with A in the growth, reproduction, and development of muscle fiber, simple to complex, small to large, simple to complex, more of a complex structure. So it has a lower capacity to grow to a higher capacity to grow. So you have more muscle fiber to recruitment, which is something really major when we talk about this. We talk about the functions and processes of metabolism. You want to make sure that metabolites are being made. You want to make sure that you have the energy, that it's released, and the food is broken down, the nutrients broken down, energy is released, and the anabolism thing that happens, the anabolic breakdowns, is your basal metabolic rate requires the amount of energy. And if you have more energy, you have more nourishment, you have better nourishment, and the functions, processes of metabolism being served usually have more metabolites to be made. When you have more metabolites that are being made, your metabolism is going to grow, it's going to develop even more. And when you're just providing the nourishment, when you're providing the energy that is critical for your basal metabolic rate to require to make metabolites, it means that it does not get stalled, that the the functions and processes of the metabolism, the basal metabolic rate, when they get stalled, the thing that happens, it affects the rest of the body, and it affects if you can even make metabolites. It is something major for the offspring of the metabolism. It's something major that your body needs to make. It's something major that your basal metabolic rate needs to require the energy to break down the food, require the energy, and anabolism. It requires energy to make metabolites, and when more metabolites be made, you have more energy, you have more nourishment, you have more bulking foods. You usually have a high metabolism that can burn off calories, that can burn off fat too, that can burn off the bulking foods. You utilize it as energy rather than just gaining it in fat. You're storing it as energy rather just in fat, and you're providing that nourishment and hell, you're providing that nourishment, energy that your body needs, that your metabolism needs to go. Get into a caloric deficit where you have less calories, you're burning off the fat. And this is the thing, is that you can't force your metabolism to grow. It doesn't work out too well because you just stunt your metabolism. What I mean by this is that many people, they stunt their metabolism by not having the energy, not having the nourishment that is needed for your basal metabolic rate to grow and develop. And for metabolites to be made, it's something really major. But the thing, you want to get into a caloric deficit where you have less calories, you can burn off the fat, and then you can gradually increase your basal metabolic rate. When you gradually increase your basal metabolic rate, you get to a hypocaloric state, hypotonic state where you have muscle lower than normal, so you can get to a hypercaloric state where you have many calories, hypercaloric state, and when you have many calories, you can burn it off and you can keep developing and growing your metabolism. Make sure that you have the energy, you have the nourishment enough to make metabolites, and just to go from making a low amount of metabolites to make a lot of metabolites to being to a low basal metabolic rate to a high basal metabolic rate that can function better. So the thing that I'm talking about here, get out of here, Phil. The thing that I'm talking about here, it's major energy and nourishment, the food to be broken down, and the energy to be released. So your basal metabolic rate can require the amount of energy to make metabolites. When we have a low amount of metabolites, maybe we don't have nearly enough nourishment, we don't have nearly enough energy for our metabolism to make the offspring that are known as metabolites that aid in the growth, reproduction, and development of most virus of complex small to large, building more of a complex structure from a low capacity grow to a higher capacity grow. Go, come on. And it's something major that happens. Make sure that the metabolism is the functions of metabolism, the factors of metabolism happen so that the food can be broken down, the nutrients can be broken down, energy can be released. Your basal metabolic rate can require the amount of energy to make metabolites. We're making low amount of metabolites, but you have low metabolism, that's carbohydrate sensitive, empty calorie sensitive. When from this point, you can gradually increase your caloric intake with foods high in nutritional value, find the energy and nourishment to keep growing your your metabolism, and to make sure that more metabolites are being made. So you have high metabolism, you can intake a lot of food, and you can burn the calories off, utilize it as energy, and keep growing and developing your metabolism from that point on. Major thing is that the food's broken down, energy is released, energy is required for your basal metabolic rate to make metabolites. When you have more metabolites being made, you have more energy, you have more nourishment that is present, because when low amount of metabolites being made, usually the functions and processes of metabolism are not served too well. And the major thing about this is that they aid in the growth, reproduction, and development of muscle fibers. So if you really stall how many metabolites are being made, the thing that happens is that you're stalling the muscle fibers going, reproducing, developing, from growing further on from simple to complex. They say at low capacity growth, simple to small muscle fiber. It's not good at all because biosynthesis, catabolism, anabolism, none of these factors are going into play, and then the metabolism, the functions and processes of metabolism not being served. So we talk about creatine, which is protein supplementation. We talk about casein. Now, what is casein? It's not casein. It's casein. I'm pretty sure it's casein. That's how you pronounce it. I don't know. I'm not a Google Translate. You go on Google Translate, see what it is. Now, I'm fairly certain that it's casein, and it's a slow working protein supplementation. That means it's very dense. It's very hot in the gastrointestinal tract. So it takes a long time for the gastrointestinal tract to make sure that it gets fully digested. So that the energy. So what that means is that the energy, the stored energy, is not being released because the food is stuck down there in the gastrointestinal tract. So catabolism, anabolism never happens, and when the food is never broken down, energy cannot be released, and energy cannot be required by your basal metabolic rate to make metabolites that are crucial and muscle fiber simple from complex biosynthesis that's crucial from muscle fiber lower of a capacity to grow to a higher capacity to grow, developing, growing, and reproducing more muscle fiber to recruitment, having more muscle fiber to recruitment. So we have more muscular gain, muscular hypertrophy. We have more muscle tone. We have more vascular. What the hell? It's like a spotted dog over there. Anyways, we have arginine. Arginine is a protein supplementation too, and it decreases inflammation. It decreases migraines too, just like vitamin B2, riboflavin. It's something major in decreasing inflammations and migraines. And it's easy. It's a fast working supplementation. And what I mean by it's a fast working supplementation is that it's not really too dense, and it's easier for it to go through the gastrointestinal tract and doesn't have a toll on the gastrointestinal tract. It's something major that you guys understand, and it actually decreases inflammations, decreases migraines too. So major benefits, major advantages to arginine, things like arginine. So next we look up at citrulline millet. Now citrulline is crucial. Now it's crucial, I tell you guys. It's crucial in muscle tone and vascularity. It's crucial in muscular growth and muscle fiber to recruitment. But you gotta make sure that anabolism, catabolism is happening, biosynthesis is happening. And the thing about this is that vascularity, when we think about vascularity, we think about less fat, more blood circulation. We think about more energy and nourishment to be making more metabolites to be made. The functions and processes of the metabolism, they're being served, and when they're being served, your body is happy. So energy is going to be released, required by your basal metabolic rate to make many metabolites, low metabolites to more metabolites to basically just go through a caloric deficit, basically reset your metabolism, reset your body so it can have these functions and processes done. And so you're gradually increasing your caloric intake to a hypocaloric to increase muscle tone, higher than normal, hypertonic to go to hypercaloric when you have more calories that are being digested and you have more nutritional value. You're supplying the energy and nourishment to make more metabolites, and when more metabolites are being made, again, it aids in the growth and reproduction of muscle fiber, simple or complex, small to large. So more muscle fiber to recruitment is happening when it has a higher capacity to grow. It doesn't have a lower capacity to grow like muscle fiber type 1. And it really just stays at muscle fiber type 1, which have low capacity to grow, not nearly enough metabolites being made by the metabolism. We have low metabolism that's carbohydrate sensitive. When your metabolism is carbohydrate sensitive, that means it's empty calorie sensitive. And if you force your metabolism to if you eat these foods that are just going to cause so many diseases in your body, you do not have good genetics. That means that because you cannot burn it off, you're going to gain fat by overall body composition, visceral fat, body fat. When this happens, it makes vascularity a no go, bro. A no go, bro. As I like to say it. Like when I try to get girlfriends, I say it's a no go, bro, because that does not happen on Bryant's second fist. He does not simply approach a girl and say, "I want to go on a date with you." He never says it in the first place. You got to think up here. It's something major. Vascularity to happen. We have more blood circulation, blood vessels that you want to make sure that your heart's in good condition, your liver's in good condition, and that blood vessels are being regulated and they're supplying and delivering oxygen to the body cells and muscle tissue. And it's something really major, especially growing and developing body cells and muscle tissue so they do not deteriorate, so fat doesn't collapse upon the muscle, prevent blood vessels from supplying and delivering oxygen to body cells and muscle tissue. When this happens, it makes vascular, it makes muscle tone. The muscle is hidden, and it deteriorates muscle by adding upon fat, overall visceral fat, body fat, water fat, and also body composition. And this all stunts your body mass index, your height and weight, when you don't grow correctly, and when you're not letting the processes, the metabolism. I say all the time on my channel, let the metabolism's functions and processes, let them be served. When they're served, good things happen. Metabolites can be made. If that happens, we provide the nutrients for a body, the food's high nutritional value, the boiling foods get down to the esophagus, they getting good down there. They're like, hey, gastrointestinal tract, you want to deliver, you want to make sure that we get fully processed, we get fully digested to the catabolic breakdown, where the food basically gets broken down, processed, synthesized, whatever you like, whatever your personal preference is, when it gets processed or whatever. It releases energy, anabolic breakdown. Just make sure that your basal metabolic rate requires the energy to make metabolites, so it has the nourishment, it has the energy to make many more metabolites, so your metabolism can grow and develop, and more metabolites are being made. That means we have a high basal metabolic rate, more of a chance of a high basal metabolic rate, because when we have a low basal metabolic rate, not enough metabolites are being made because we don't have enough nourishment or energy, or the functions and process of the metabolism does not happen. When this does not happen, that means it stalls how many metabolites are being made, and it stunts our metabolism from growing, developing, even further, making more metabolites, reproducing, and developing more metabolites. So it's a low amount. Get down to a caloric deficit where you have low caloric intake, you gradually increase your metabolism. This is the way how to do it. I've learned this through me doing it. You have to gradually increase your basal metabolic rate with the energy and nourishment that it needs to make metabolites, so it can go from a state where it doesn't make many metabolites, so it can be making a lot of metabolites. And when a lot of metabolites are being made, that means biosynthesis can happen. Catabolism, anabolism, when these are all happening, biosynthesis can happen. Muscle fiber, simple to complex, small to large, more of a complex structure. Muscle fiber type 2 that have more of a capacity to grow, when they have more of a capacity to grow, when it's more muscular hypertrophy. Vascular, when it's more muscle gain. So it's all together good effects. Citrulline millet is major for vascularity. It's major for muscle tone. It's major for toning muscles. Major for vascularity. But not even just that. It's major for muscular growth. Muscle fiber 2 recruitment. Make sure that muscle fiber 2 recruitment is happening, so that they develop, they reproduce, and they grow in the correct way, and they're not stunted. I just don't say it simple, small, with lower capacity to grow. They grow correctly and develop and reproduce correctly to muscle fiber type 2. When you have muscle fiber 2 when you have muscle fiber 1 recruitment, you have less vascular, you have less muscle tone, you have less muscular gain, you have less muscular hypertrophy, as we know it, muscle gain, and it's really bad. But in vascular, as I talked about yesterday, in the vascular view, you make sure you have less amounts of overall body composition, visceral fat, body fat, water fat. You want to make sure that your heart is working with blood vessels. The blood vessels can be delivered to the body cells, and it can supply the oxygen, can deliver the oxygen to the body cells and blood tissues, so that they do not deteriorate, and that we can have less amounts of fat, so we can have more vascularity. We're providing the energy, we're providing the nourishment. So basal metabolic rate, it can make more metabolics. It's really major. It's that when we don't have nearly enough energy or nourishment, we don't have a lot of metabolites being made, and we usually have stunted metabolites. We have a stunted metabolism that's not growing any further. It's not making any more metabolites. The metabolic count is staying constant, and it's not growing further. So we're gonna have a stunted metabolism, and you're gonna have stunted muscle fibers that never learn how to grow, reproduce, and develop, because they don't have the metabolites to aid them. It's major. The metabolites to aid the muscle fibers, simple to complex, small to large, and basically reproducing and developing and growing from simple to complex, small to large, so biosynthesis can happen. It's major for biosynthesis to happen, as I talk about in like every one of my videos. But citrulline, millet, arginine, great for inflammations, decreasing inflammation, migraines. Citrulline millet, great for vascularity, great for muscle tone, great for muscular growth, great for hypertrophy. Muscle fiber 2 recruitment. You have more muscle fiber 2s being made, you have higher capacity to grow muscle fiber type 2, so more muscular hypertrophy, muscle tone, and vascularity overall. So when we think about supplementations, the thing is that usually people, they have a low metabolism, and they go to supplementations. Now the thing about this is that we go to supplementations because you want the nutrients, you want the micronutrients, microminerals, and vitamins that you're not getting, so you can have good nourishment, you can have full nourishment. But the thing is that a lot of these are hidden with dextrose monohydrate. It's a high concentrated form of carbohydrate that is found in most supplementations. It's found in a lot of other things. It's found in bread. It's found in cereals. It's found in protein bars. It's found in all these kind of things. You want to go on that video, dextrose monohydrate, you go on that video right now, look at granola. But all these foods that are high in carbohydrates, we think about syrup, we think about cereal, I just mentioned pancakes. We think about all these foods that usually have a high amount of high fructose corn syrup. They usually have a high amount of dextrose monohydrate, and it's basically hidden in these foods. And what it's doing is making it hard for the hormone insulin to be made in the pancreas, for your pancreas to form and produce the hormone insulin, which is major. It's the major hormone in stabilizing your blood glucose level. And if you're not doing anything to control it, you have a correct amount, either too low or too high. That means your blood glucose level. Thing about that is that when your carbohydrate intake is either corrupted, too high, blood glucose level is too high or too low, it cannot be regulated by the hormone insulin, and that's something really major. Make sure that it can be stabilized, is that stabilization can happen, and that the glucogen can work in too. It's the second hormone for regulating blood glucose level. The blood glucose level, insulin sensitivity, insulin resistance is when the hormone insulin can not regulate blood glucose level, leading to low and high blood sugar, correct amount of carbohydrate level. And it leads to a lot of bad things down the line. It leads to diabetes, leads into premature death, leads into bad liver function. Because your liver does, it does not only create cholesterol, it does not form cholesterol. Cholesterol is not only formed in the liver, but the thing about that is that liver also makes sugar, it makes carbohydrates, and it stores them for when you're going to use them for energy. So the thing about this is that it leads into premature death, diabetes, type 1 diabetes. Well, it can be stabilized. Your blood glucose level can be stabilized if you make sure that your carbohydrate intake is constant and not too high or too low. So it can make it easy for the hormone insulin and the hormone glucogen to really stabilize it. Blood glucose level stabilization. But the thing about type 1 diabetes is that it can be controlled. Type 2 diabetes is when the blood glucose level, it's so corrupted. The amount of carbohydrates is either too high, or really too low, or really low. And what's like click on my type 1 and type 2 diabetes. When it's like that, that means that the hormone insulin, this is type 2 diabetes, when the hormone insulin cannot even be produced and made by the pancreas, which is something really bad that happens, is when your blood glucose level is so out of control, when it can't be formed, it can't even be produced by the pancreas. It's something really bad that happens, and you have to rely on artificial ways, handmade ways to get insulin back in there so it can stabilize it. It's the number one hormone for stabilizing your blood glucose level. You gotta make sure that you keep a carbohydrate intake that's constant, that's the same. You don't want to make sure that you're gradually increasing it or gradually decreasing it way too low, because it's going to affect if the hormone insulin can even be formed and produced in the pancreas. It's something major that needs to happen in glucogen. You can't just rely on glucogen, because glucogen is the second hormone that is responsible for regulating blood glucose level. It helps with it, but glucogen cannot do it by itself. It needs the hormone insulin, because the hormone insulin is the hormone that's produced in the pancreas and formed in the pancreas, that's made for stabilizing blood glucose level, that's made for regulating blood glucose level. So we have to understand that, prevent things like type 2 diabetes. The hormone insulin cannot even be produced and can be formed by the pancreas because your blood glucose level is so out of control, carbohydrate level is usually too high or too low. And when it's so out of control and you're not even trying to do anything to stabilize it, that means that the hormone insulin cannot even be produced and made in the pancreas, which is when we have to look at insulin shots to get back in our body so we can stabilize our blood glucose level. That is the major concepts of that I wanted to cover today. But all together, let's go from the last video. Vascular, you want more blood circulation, more energy and nourishment from more metabolic to be made, and for biosynthesis, catabolism, anabolism to be happening. You want your metabolism to be serving its functions and processes, as I talk about in all these videos. When serving these processes, it's all going to go well. And it's just really important to make sure that it's not stalling, that overtraining is starting really bad, because it just keeps metabolites. It stalls metabolism. How many metabolites are being made when a low amount of metabolites being made? It doesn't have nearly enough energy or enough nourishment that it requires to make more metabolites. So you can be making more metabolites, and when the functions of the metabolism, the process of metabolism doesn't happen, usually low metabolites are being made, not enough to aid in the growth, reproduction, and development of muscle fiber type 1 to type 2, lower capacity growth to higher capacity growth. So this leads into muscle fiber type 1, lower capacity growth, small muscle fibers. It says that does not grow too simple to complex, small to large, more complex structure. Muscle fiber 2 recruitment, we have muscle fiber 1 recruitment, leads to which it does not do anything for the body. But when muscle fiber double recruitment, a lower capacity growth, when this happens, is that it stunts the muscle fibers. So the muscle fibers, they aren't growing correctly. They're not reproducing correctly. They're not developing correctly. And because of your body, what you're forcing it to do, and because of all this, even the energy to make sure that the food's broken down and releases energy, and allows your basal metabolic rate requires the amount of energy, has good nourishment, has good amount of energy, good bulking foods, so it can utilize that to make metabolites. Your metabolism functions, the process can be served, so metabolites can be made, and the growth, reproduction, and development of muscle fibers. When we have stalled basal metabolic rate, vascularity, muscle tone, muscle hypertrophy, and more fat, and occlusion, where the blood vessels are blocked by fat, and when they're blocked, they cannot supply and deliver oxygen to the body cells and muscle tissue. That is major to make sure that they do not deteriorate. We have protein powder. We have creatine. We have arginine. We have citrulline millet. We have soy protein. Now, the thing that all these things share is that they're highly concentrated in carbohydrates. So, usually, when we look at a protein supplementation, it usually has a high amount of carbohydrates, and that does nothing for your body, but corrupts your carbohydrate level, which makes your blood glucose level out of control, and to the point where it cannot even be stabilized, getting things like premature death, bad liver failure, bad liver function, premature death, dying at any time. But you're not even trying to help yourself, because you're letting it happen, and you're eating foods that are high in carbohydrates, that are dense in carbohydrates. The thing about this is that you want to get to the point where you cannot burn the carbohydrates off, empty calories off, until you're applying more nourishment, more energy for more metabolites to be made. You have less amount of metabolites being made, so that metabolism's functions and processes can be served. So the thing is that you can get to the point where when you rely on supplementation, protein supplementation, this is just even if you don't take that and you just rely on supplementations, micronutrients, the smallest forms of micronutrients, usually in pill or supplementation form, highly concentrated in carbohydrates. That's the supplementation. So don't rely on that, because you don't need the carbohydrates doing anything to your body, make it even harder to stabilize your blood glucose. So you do not want that. I say skip that. Get the micronutrients that have the micronutrients, microminerals, and vitamins. That they have all of that. But the thing about that, they don't have the unneeded, unnecessary carbohydrates that's going to be doing nothing for your body. So altogether, you're having a balance of micronutrients, microminerals, and vitamins that's crucial for the digested, broken down, released food. The energy is released after the food is broken down, requires by your metabolism to make a metabolism has more energy, has more nourishment. You should have a high metabolism where you can gain the fat, where you can store the food as fat, to the point where you can store food as energy and keep growing and keep producing metabolites to make sure that more metabolites are being made. You get into a hypercaloric state. You have more calories being digested. You can basically burn enough to keep growing, keep developing muscle fiber, keep developing metabolites, which again is major for muscle fiber stallation. Is it stallation a word? When the muscle fibers get stalled, simple to complex. So yeah, simple, small, to a low capacity to grow, so biosynthesis never comes into play. It's something major that I want to talk about. I have a sore throat right now, actually. But I want to thank you guys for sticking with me in this video. But you want to get down to a caloric deficit, burn off the fat, you shed the fat, and then you can focus on gradually increasing your basal metabolic rate, so as energy and nourishment enough to make it metabolize, so that the functions and processes of the metabolism are being asserted. It's something major that I want to talk about. And even in supplementations, there are major benefits and advantages. But obviously, if your metabolism, since they're highly concentrated in carbohydrates, the thing about this, even that they're not concentrated in empty calories, because they have the micronutrients, microminerals, and vitamins that we need to have good nourishment to, that we need to have full nourishment. The thing about that is they still have carbohydrates, and your carbohydrate sensitive, you have low metabolism. You have to get low metabolism to a hypercaloric state, so you can digest many calories. You can basically burn that off and store it as energy rather than storing it as fat. So that's a major thing. You want to grow before you look into supplementations. I say go into the supplementations when we talk about arginine. That's major. It's a pill. It's also a concentrated version of supplementation. So when we look at the micronutrients found in supplementations in pill form, smallest forms of macronutrients, usually highly concentrated in supplementations with a high amount of dextrose monohydrate, and it's something that is not good in any way. And I want you guys, especially in decaffeinated beverages, soda pops as they call it, the cool kids call it, Little Debbie's, fucking, you call Hostess? My nigga Hostess. You got some candy, you got some bread, you got some syrup, you got some pancakes, you got flour too, and all these things, the bread too. All these things that have a high amount of dextrose monohydrate, even protein supplementations have a high amount of dextrose monohydrate. So I really wanted to stress this as much as I possibly could. I hope you guys learned something from this video. If you have, click the like button, subscribe, and I hope you guys like whatever content I'm coming out with that's new. So anyways, I hope I got what you needed and I discussed it. Supplementations, they have major benefits, major advantages, but obviously if your metabolism is not ready, that means that they're going to have major disadvantages and no benefits, little to no benefits at all. But you want to reset your metabolism so metabolism's functions and process can be made in metabolism. So you have more metabolites being made, you have more nourishment, you have more energy, so you're storing it as energy, the food as energy rather than fat. You have more metabolites being made, more energy, more nourishment. So you have a high basal metabolic rate. You're gradually increasing your caloric intake, getting too low to a high where you can digest many calories and burn off. And you have energy and keep growing your metabolism, keep making more metabolites and more metabolites as it comes. Biosynthesis, catabolism, anabolism can happen. When all these functions and processes of the body can happen, your body really becomes happy. And it says, thank you for treating me correctly. Anyways, 37 minutes and 48 seconds we got here. Definitely something long, but just, supplementations, we want the nourishment that we don't have. We want the micronutrients we already don't have, micro minerals. We want the vitamins that we don't have, so we can achieve full nourishment. That's why we look to supplementation, so we can get the stuff that we already need, so we can have full nourishment. But the thing about that is the carbohydrates. That's probably the main thing. So limiting the supplementations that are highest in dextrose monohydrate and carbohydrates is major for make sure that hormone insulin can stabilize your blood glucose level and doesn't get out of control. Make sure that glucagon and the hormone insulin can work together to stabilize it, and it ultimately prevents premature death, diabetes, type 1 diabetes, type 2 diabetes, pre-diabetes. It prevents bad liver function, liver failure. It prevents all these things that I've talked about in this video. Hope you guys liked it, and bye guys. Bryant Stecker Fitness out. I just want to say, guys, thanks for the support so far. This is a 38-minute video. This is probably the longest video on my channel. I'll make a video after this, just discussing some brief stuff.